What is up, everybody, and welcome to today's video. It's going to be a complete beginner's guide to buying a 3D printer. So if you're in the market for your very first 3D printer, this video is going to be for you. I'm going to discuss all my thoughts on each 3D printer that I see a lot of beginners buying and kind of if I would steer towards it or steer away from it. Now, I will put up right up front that I don't have experience with all these 3D printers. These are all just my opinion, and your opinions may vary, especially if you're someone who's been into 3D printing for a while. You know, again, we all have different experiences. I saw someone say this on one of my videos before. It's like buying a car. You know, one person might have a really good experience, and then the next person, you know, it's really a big dud, you know. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. We're going to talk about a lot of information here. So just sit back, relax, take it in, you know, ask any questions in the comments down below. I always answer, or at least read every single comment on every video. So let's go ahead and get into it. So with that being said, the first printer we're going to discuss is the Centauri Carbon. Now, a lot of you know I already have this printer. A lot of you know I've had my issues with this printer. With that being said, I still think it has a place in the market as a beginner 3D printer. You know, it is $299 and we're on pre-order. So at this point, my recommendation would be to hold off on pre-ordering. Elegoo did say if they are going to raise their prices due to any sort of tariffs, they will let us know ahead of time by at least a week. So if we're getting close, you know, and you really think you want it, you can go ahead and pre-order at any point during that week period. You know, I don't think there's a rush right now to pre-order it. You know, that's where I'm at as far as if you were to buy the Centauri Carbon. Now, with that being said, why would I wait to order the Carbon? Well, there's some other printers coming out on the market, so we'll discuss that. But first things first, let's talk about the printer, right? You're at the 256 by 256 by 256. That's kind of standard. Bambu kind of sent that standard with their 3D printers. You know, it's a Core XY, prints right out of the box. For the most part, it's been good to me. I did have an issue with the thermistor. At least that's what I believe. So to give you a little background, I started having this printing error issue happen where essentially it wasn't an error, it was AIR, where it would print error and there's just nothing extruding. I think that's because my thermistor, you know, if you're a beginner, you know, it's the device that gives the temp to the hot end, or essentially it's like controlling the temperature. I think the reading on it was off, so it wasn't allowing filament to be pushed through. You know, again, time will tell if that was actually the issue. I do not have my part yet. So on April 18th, I contacted Elegoo. April 22nd, we finally got everything sorted and they shipped it to me. I still don't have it today as of May 7th. It did ship from China. So is this because of tariffs and everything like that? I don't know. I'm thinking about reaching out to them to see if that is why it's being held up. But it's been in Los Angeles for like the last 5 days. I'm in Arizona, so it should hopefully be here soon. So that's just a little bit of background. So I haven't been able to print. It's been 11 business days. They estimated it would get to me in 6 to 9, and it's been about 15 total days. Now, look, I'm not complaining. It's the shipping company. Elegoo did their part, and they sent me the replacement part, but I haven't been able to print for about 19 days now from the time I notify them. That doesn't include all the troubleshooting because, frankly, this printer doesn't really give like error codes. So I didn't ever get like any sort of error on the printer telling me like, hey, this is what's wrong with the printer. Only one time when I did a PID tuning, it mentioned like, hey, maybe a temp was off. I have not been able to replicate that since on the printer. And it only happened one time. And that was like one of the final things. You know, I had PID tuned it beforehand to kind of like, you know, try to, I don't know, troubleshoot with the printer. So it did take me a little bit of time to come to like the result that the thermistor was bad. So that's one of the pitfalls, or one of the downfalls, I think, to the Centauri Carbon, is that the software and like the troubleshooting software is not up to par with some of these other 3D printers. So what do I mean by that? Well, for one, it doesn't have an app. So you can't monitor your 3D prints away from home, which I didn't realize how much I missed that until, you know, I actually started using it when I had the A1. You know, I have the Bambu Lab A1 as well. So I'm used to like just setting that print. I can go to work if I notice like there's any stringing on the camera. Now the Bambu Lab A1 camera is not good, but I can tell if a print has failed. So I'm able to like stop the print in the app, you know, and go on from there. with the carbon, you don't have that. Now, you can do some like upgrades by, like on Uncle Jesse's video. That's where I got the idea. You buy an external camera. I made a video about that as well. And then you can do like a smart outlet plug. You can set that up for like less than 30 bucks, and that kind of solves your issue with that. But the Bambu Handy app, does offer a lot of other features, and we'll get to that. So, the carbon does have a place. I still think it has potential. I would just recommend ordering extra hot ends, because I think that's the issue. I think once I get my hot end from Elegoo, it'll work again. The problem with that, though, is that they just don't have them available right now. So we'll show you guys. If you go to the parts and accessories for the Centauri Carbon, look, I get it's new, but if you go ahead and pre-order this, it's not available until August. That's a really long time right now. Like, I think they should have done a better job of having these in stock and available as soon as this printer launched. Because this is a consumable that only has a 3-month warranty. So if someone's coming up on their 3 months, if they got the printer when I did at the end of February, and we get to the end of May and there's just fails, I'm sure you can go through support and order one, but you shouldn't have to contact support. I just want to be able to order it and move on with my day. And then whenever I get it, I get it. But and you should be able to order backups, right? So you have them, because I wanted to order some backups, but now if I ordered a backup, I wouldn't get until August. So that's just something to me, part availability at this point. That's why I think maybe you're better at holding off, letting the dust settle on the Centauri Carbon, see if any more people have issues with theirs. Because I had my issues, but I'm one person out of thousands who've had a good experience. Of course, usually the people who have a bad experience are a little louder, because the ones with good experiences, they're not talking about it. So, it just pains me to say, like, there's no available parts. And, a lot of people are saying that's because the printer's new. Well, let's go to the Neptune 4 and see if they have parts for the Neptune 4, because that printer's been out for a while. If you look, it's the same thing. They have the extruder, so I trust that they're eventually going to get the extruder in stock. But all they really have is like the hot ends, or sorry, I was pointing at this and saying extruder, but all they really have is the hot ends and extruder available. There's no additional parts. So maybe they'll start adding the parts when it comes to the Centauri Carbon, but as of right now, Bambu. Elegoo's not really known for like having all the parts. Like you should have some motors up here, maybe, a motherboard, like offer these additional parts. And they do have a history of not necessarily always keeping the parts in stock and making them easily available. If any of you have used their resin printers, you can go to LCD Screens. In the Jupiter printer here, let's see here, is one of their most popular. Well, it is their most. It's their big printer, right? And that LCD screen is not in stock. This is for the older Jupiter. Right here, this is the LCD screen for the Jupiter, and it's sold out. You have to go through support, and this is very common when it comes to Elegoo, at least from what I've seen and what I remember, looking at their 3D printers. So, this is resin, so it's a little bit of a different story. But, they don't necessarily have a history of keeping everything readily available in stock, which kind of worries me over the long term. Now, if you think $300 is cheap, you're only looking for a 3D printer for like a year, then this is probably not a big deal. But the reason I would hold off is really because you have the Artillery M1 Probe, which is also on pre-order with the same delivery date. So we're looking at July, but this printer actually offers a lot more. It's slightly faster. It actually has an active heating chamber at $379. That's insane. So I'm really interested in this printer. I'm actually going to pre-order. I haven't pre-ordered it yet. I was waiting for some of the YouTube money to come in, but I am going to pre-order this, right? It has an AI camera for real-time monitoring, so I'm assuming they're going to have an app. Maybe they have a little more information down here. But this is definitely one that I am going to pick up. It's the same, aluminum cast frame, monolithic. I don't know what that means, but, this is the same thing. I think it was like an aluminum die cast frame that they had as well on the Elegoo Centauri Carbon. So if we're looking at this, they want effort and control through their app. Let's see here. Do they have an app? I'm not sure, but at least they'll have a PC app. So that's the same as the Centauri Carbon. And I think active chamber heating for $80 of an upgrade, that's pretty worth it. This is their price including tariffs, because they already said it was $350 and they raised their price actually due to tariffs. So I think this is a really interesting, printer. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Or would you, I personally, my recommendation at this point is to hold off and see how the M1 Pro comes out, because if the M1 Pro is good, there's no reason to buy the Carbon, at least to me, unless you think it's worth it to save the $80. But then you should have ordered the actual Centauri, which I don't know if they're going to ever stock this again. It's sold out for $200 again because of the tariffs. Like, I just don't see them ever restocking this at $200. Maybe it'll go up to $250. Who knows? I just don't see them stocking this one again, but I could be wrong. So those are my thoughts on the Centauri Carbon. I think I would hold off and wait for the M1 Pro, because there's a lot more promise when it comes to the M1 Pro. You just don't know. Maybe it's a better printer, maybe it's not. But then you're waiting again to see like what they have available. And I don't know as far as like accessories what they have. It looks like they have hot ends and stuff and a whole bunch of replacement parts for their other printers, which their other printers are quite old, so you just never know. But it looks very promising from Artillery. So moving on, we'll go to the Kobra S1, which actually, guys, I ordered this on Amazon so that way I could show you guys what it was capable of and compare it to the Centauri Carbon, because a lot of people are. Now on eBay, you can even buy these for $450. On Amazon, they were $450, so I wouldn't pay the $500. But there is no tax on their website, so if you're in the United States, check out their website. Sometimes you can get like the coupons for $50. It looks like that went away. That was a little weird, but they've had the coupon for $50 off all the way up until today. So with that being said, this is kind of like the same. It's slightly smaller than the Centauri Carbon, prints quicker. The Centauri Carbon, I will say, is very loud. It's like a jet engine running in my garage if it's hot in there. Anycubic does have an app for monitoring as well. I know that for sure. So there is, the extra features. Do you think that's worth, though, almost $200? I don't think so. I mean, the Centauri Carbon for me was $330 shipped. This one, when I priced it out, was $450 shipped. So I guess $120 difference. Yeah, I don't know if an app is worth $120. Like I said, you can easily fix that for like $30, buying an extra camera and then doing like a smart outlet. We'll see. When I get this one in hand, I've actually had time to play around with it. If I don't get this one this week, I am canceling my order for this again. I think they're telling me something. They're telling me, do not order this printer. Do not get this printer. I only ordered it off Amazon so I could return it if it was crap. I don't see a lot of people hyped for this printer either on YouTube or anything like that. I think, honestly, with good reason. But I know a lot of you have actually gotten this printer and you really enjoy it with the multicolored. So it is a cheaper multicolored Core XY printer, since since the Elegoo Centauri Carbon doesn't have that available till at least Q3. If you need something now, it seems like a good option. But I would look up a lot of the reviews, because the Ace is what their multicolored system has had thrown a lot of error codes from what I could see. Now, if they fix that, I don't know. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos on this one and people trying to troubleshoot it. And Anycubic doesn't necessarily have the best history as far as customer support. I will say Elegoo, I've been completely satisfied with them. They usually respond within 24 hours. Unless it's on the weekend, they do not work on the weekends. Anycubic, I don't have personal experience with their customer service, but I've heard good and bad things. So, Prusa's in a class of their own with, from what I've heard with customer service. They're the only ones that I can say at this point. I've never seen anything bad about them. Bambu, all the other ones I've seen, it goes back and forth, right? So it just depends. But as far as like Bambu, we'll get to them later. So with that being said, I think this is an interesting printer. The thing I mentioned about Elegoo, which I want to hold everyone to that same standard, is can you buy the replacement parts? So let's go ahead and check out the replacement parts. So if we're looking here, we do have the hot end here. Again, it's not in stock. I just think, to me, this is unacceptable, but you can't even pre-order this one. The only caveat to this is there are alternatives available on Amazon and AliExpress. I don't know how the tariffs would work now because of the May 2nd for AliExpress for the United States, but at least you can get them on Amazon. So there is alternatives at least. With the Centauri Carbon, there hasn't been any alternatives released. So you can't really work your way around it. At least with the Kobra S1 you can. Though I don't know about the support with the Kobra S1 with any other nozzle than a 0.4. When I was looking at it, they don't even offer anything other than a 0.4 nozzle on the Kobra S1. I haven't checked the slicer, but I've heard that the slicer didn't even support it. But you guys will have to let me know. Maybe that's like just something I read that was an error, or that was fake news, right? I don't know. But looking at everything else, they do offer a lot more parts, at least like motors and stuff, versus Elegoo, which is kind of nice. You know, I don't know how important this is to a lot of you, but at least they do offer some of it when it comes to fixing your own 3D printer. All right, moving on to more expensive printers, the Creality K2 Plus. Now, I really wanted this printer for about a week, and then my, curiosity for this printer started to kind of die out. I think the reason for that is because I'm thinking about this like logically. I don't have a reason to have a 350 by 350 by 350 printer. Helmets almost fit on the Bambu Lab, the 256 and the Centauri. They almost fit on that build plate. So I just need something slightly bigger. And so I haven't really felt the need to really go this big. You also have the Creality High, which, same thing. Like, I'll get into the price of the Bambu Lab A1 in a bit, but I would rather buy that. It's a proven machine. I know a lot of people like the Creality High that have it, and it's been reliable for them. But again, the same thing. It's just a little too expensive for my taste. So going back to the K2 Plus, they're actually coming out with a K2 Pro and a K2, which I believe the K2 will be like the 250 by 250 build volume. I know it was confirmed somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure what the exact size of it was off the top of my head. The K2 Pro is actually 300 by 300 by 300, which I find way more interesting. And if that machine was like $800 with active chamber heating, it's that one to me would be enticing if it works. There's a lot of things when it comes down to it where I don't think it's worth it. And paying this much just to have a 350 by 350 by 350 build plate is just one of those things. I think normally you can get this without the combo. Let's see here if we can get this K2 Plus. Let's see if we can get rid of this CFS. Without CFS. So it's $14.49. It's still too expensive. I've seen on the TikTok shop where you can get this for like $12.50 sometimes. It's still too expensive, and it has too many issues that I've seen online. Do you guys research, go into Creality, like Reddit's, in some of those posts, and you'll see some people have just had a heck of a time with this machine. Uncle Jesse also said the same thing. He had a lot of issues with this machine. So I don't know. When you're over $1,000, I definitely think you just need something to work. So it's enticing, but again, and I know a lot of people like theirs. It's the same thing as far as warranties. I will go into like their accessories. They do have a lot of spare parts available. Creality also is known for being more of an open source. I believe the K2 is not open source, but a lot of their stuff gets upgraded. Like, so third parties will upgrade their stuff. It doesn't look like they have too many parts available for the K2. Like, even over here, there's nothing here for the K2. So that's also something to keep in mind. I think I would steer away from Creality. Honestly, I haven't had good experiences with them. I have a buddy who says he'll never buy from them again as well. But I do think the K2 and the K2 Pro will be interesting if they have all the kinks worked out from the K2 Plus. In that 300 by 300 by 300 build volume, to me, would be worth looking at. But instead, right now, you can go with the Qidi Plus at $799. We're at 305, 305, 280, and it has the active chamber heating. One of you I know told me that you canceled your Centauri Carbon pre-order and you went with this and you're completely happy with it. Now, this machine did have some overheating issues and smoking issues and some hot end issues when it first came out, but that seems to be all resolved by Qidi. So let me know what you guys think on this one. I think it's a pretty good purchase at the price it is at. And honestly, if you're looking in this range, I don't think there's a better deal on a printer, honestly, as far as what you get for the money. As far as accessories too, they do have a lot of aftermarket stuff that you can purchase. Fans, I know they had a motherboard in here somewhere. They have extra hot ends. All this stuff is readily available for you to buy, which is a plus for me. but hopefully you don't need it if you only print PLA. But if you're looking at trying to print like other materials such as ABS, this is definitely one you should consider. The other one you can consider, let's move on, is to the Bambu Lab series. Not the A1 to print those, but look, right now you can get the Bambu Lab A1 for $340, or sorry, $440. The Creality High is $389. That's why I say those were comparable. I wouldn't get the Creality High anymore. You can get this one for $600, which was the same as the combo for the Creality High. Just go ahead and get the proven printer, right? Go ahead and get the Bambu Lab A1. You know, as far as what I was talking about with an alternative to the Qidi, you're looking at the P1S. If you want to save money because you're not going to print those extra materials, you can get this one right now for $700. So if you're looking for any sort of like multicolored, I know the Qidi does offer it. I'm not 100% sure what that looks like. Let's see if we can find it. So I couldn't find it for the Qidi for the multicolored system. I believe there was one mentioned, but I don't think you'd buy that printer. I think that as far as multicolor, there's a lot more support for like a Bambu Lab printer or, you know, Creality. A lot of them have been coming out with their multicolored system. So with that being said, I swear by Bambu because they just print. They just work out of the box. And if we're going with it, we're comparing it to everybody else. They have spare parts available for every single one of their printers. You can go on here and buy anything you need. You don't have to go through support to purchase it. You know, if something's in warranty, you can still contact Bambu. I've heard it's a little more difficult to contact Bambu, but I just love that all of their parts are available. You know, as far as building an ecosystem, building a group of printers, you know, if you have all the same printers, all your parts are, you know, readily available. You can just place one large order, fix everything, or maybe even just keep some extra, you know, stuff available. You got bearings, you got temperature. Like, I don't know, guys. I just really appreciate that Bambu Lab has gone through and done this. And the same thing with Prusa. If you're printing with Prusa printers, they have all of their parts and accessories also available on their website. I just don't have as much experience with them. So, you know, I swear by the Bambu Lab A1. I think it's a great printer. I think you guys will be more than happy with it. I have over 1,000 hours with it and exactly 0 issues. I haven't even done any maintenance with this printer. But regardless, guys, I don't want to go on like a Bambu soapbox here about how I think it's the best. And, you know, that's where I would steer. Because also I think the Qidi, again, the +4 is a great option. And the more my Kobra S1 keeps getting delayed from Amazon, I keep thinking about canceling it and going with this. So, I don't know. Let me know. What would you guys do? Outside of that, I appreciate you guys for watching. And let me know what you think in the comments down below. And hit that subscribe button. Dang, Rosie, just let yourself in.